What's up, amigos? We continue with the epic infinite logo fly-through animation, focusing on compositing the logos and animating the camera. Let's create a new composition. Head over to the new comp icon. And let's call it logo animation. And make sure that you have the same specs as the rest of your comps. Hit OK. And let's bring this marker, and this one will be for Nike. And at 1 second, this one will be Adidas. At 2 seconds, this one will be Puma. And at 3 seconds, this one will be Vans. Now let's create a solid layer. Control Y, Command Y. And let's make it comp size. We can make it gray. Hit OK. Let's add a fill. Go to generate fill. And this one will be for Nike. So let's make it red. And let's call this Nike BG. Let's scale it up pretty big. Let's make it 500%. Now let's place it in 3D space. Activate the 3D switch. And what we'll do is let's switch our views to the left view. What I'm going to do is go to the camera controls, the letter C, C for Charlie, and let's zoom out. There you go. And hit P for position, and notice that it's at 960, 540, and 0 for the Z value. Now let's make a copy. This one will be Adidas BG. Hit P for position, and we're going to move it, and we're going to move it at -2000. So for Adidas, it's at -2000. Let's make a copy. This one for Puma, and for the Z value, let's make it -4000. So we're going to separate them by 2000 pixels. And then for Vans, it's going to be at -6000. Now, if you have more logos, just continue the same pattern. We're separating it by -2000 pixels in Z, and here on the timeline by 1 second. Breaking it down as easy as possible to pull this off. And what we'll do is we can switch it to custom view 1, and I'm going to pull back. And what we'll do is for Adidas, let's change the color to blue. Puma, we'll make it like a gold color. And for Vans, we'll make it like a dark gray. So from a custom view, overhead view, this is what we have. Let's create a camera. Go up to the layer menu, go to new, go to camera, and select the 20mm preset. Hit OK. With the camera still selected, go back to the layer menu, go all the way down to camera, and go to create orbit null. Select these two layers, and let's color code them the same color. And this null object, let's rename it to camera move, and we'll be animating the camera through this null object. Now hit P for the position property, select it, right click, let's go to separate dimensions, and we'll simply just adjust the Z value of this null object. Now let's switch it back to camera 1, and let's bring in our logos. The first one is a Nike animation. Let's bring it in. Let's make it a 3D layer by activating the 3D switch. Now the Nike background is at 0 for the Z value, and we need to make it exactly the same for the Nike animation, which it is. And one thing that we need to do is select the layers, and we need to make it white. Let's go back to our logo animation. Let's bring it right here. Okay, this is easy because it's the first one. Now, it gets a little tricky for the rest, but the good thing is it's exactly the same steps. So once you have it for one, you just repeat the process. And let's go to Adidas. So let's go to the Adidas animation. Let's bring it right here. Let's go into our Adidas comp. Remember that I told you we needed to create this layer, which will serve as our cutout or our mat, and we needed to create one for all the logos. Well, that's what we need to do now. So let's go to our Adidas mat. Let's copy this layer. You can copy, you can cut it. But if it's in your Adidas animation, make sure that it is hidden. Make sure that you don't make it visible. Okay, make sure that it's hidden, or you can delete it. And let's go to our logo animation. Let's paste it. And let's zoom in. Now, what we need to do is this Adidas mat has to go right above the Adidas background, BG. And let's color code these blue. The Puma, let's make it sandstone. Vans, let's make it yellow. And then Nike will make it red. Now, like I mentioned, the Adidas mat, this mat layer has to go right above the background. Now, what we need to do is let's bring it, let's unhide it. These two layers, the animation in the mat, let's solo it. Now, this is really important. Once the animation is done, you have to just double check and make sure that it is completely over your mat layer. If it isn't, then it's not going to work out perfectly. So if you build it correctly, it should be. In this case, it is. So what we'll do is the animation will parent it to the mat. And these two layers, we need to place it in 3D space, activate the 3D switch. Now remember that the Adidas background is at minus 2000 pixels in Z space. We need to place the mat and the animation at minus 2000 as well. So go to the position property, let's make it minus 2000. And you don't have to do it for the animation since it's parented to the mat. So let's go to Adidas, we'll go to the camera move, and then we'll just simply move this. And what we'll do is let's unsolo it. And now let's go to the Adidas background layer. Let's go to this button, or you can simply go right click, go to columns, and make sure that you have modes on. And what we need to do is go to the track mat and select alpha inverted mat. Now the Adidas animation, we need to move this layer and line it up where it says Adidas, where we have the Adidas marker. And now you can see that if we move this perfectly. Now we can make some adjustments. We can go to the mat, go to the position property, and we can move it a little higher. So when the camera goes through, it'll go perfectly through like this. And then if we play forward, we'll have the animation cover it up completely. So this is perfect. Now you repeat the same process for the other logos. I'll do one more for the Puma, and then we'll go from there. So let's bring in the Puma animation. Let's bring it right above the Puma BG. And let's go into the Puma animation. Let's go to the Puma mat layer. And let's copy this one. And let's go back to our logo animation. Let's paste it. And remember, the mat has to go right above the background layer. And what we'll do is let's make it sandstone. And let's unhide it. And let's solo these layers. And let's just make sure that it is completely on top, which it is. Perfect. The animation, let's parent it to the mat. Activate the 3D switch. Now the Puma background, the BG is at minus 4000. So let's go to the mat and let's match it minus 4000 as well. And then what we need to do is the Puma animation, we'll slide it over where it says Puma. Let's unsolo these layers. And what you can do is you can trim the mat in the background. You can trim it 1 second before. So right here at 1 second, you can trim it. And then if we pull back in Z, let's pull back. What we need to do, the last step, is go to our Puma background, and using track mat, we need to select alpha inverted mat so we can create this cutout. And there you go. And now what we can do is go to the mat, go to the position property, and we can bring it down a little bit. So when the camera goes through, it'll go right through, right here, right in the middle. So let's check it out and see what we have so far. What we can do is add Very simple keyframes. We'll add a keyframe right here at the beginning, 0, and here at 3. What I like to do is based off the last one. So we're at Puma, and Puma's at minus 4,000. So let's make it minus 4,000. We can make it minus 4,500. Let's check it out. There you go. Now that is the basic of this, and you just keep repeating this process for all your different logos. So this is what we have so far. I added the Vans animation, and the next step is to tweak the camera if you want to, tweak the keyframes. So we can select the keyframes, add easy ease. You can leave it like this if you want, or you can jump into the valley graph. Let's go into the valley graph, and we can tweak the animation a little. Let's check it out. But once you tweak it, you might have to make some adjustments to the animation. For example, once we go here, you see the Adidas animation comes in. We want it maybe to come in a little later. You can simply slide it over. But what I'll do is, let's adjust this handle. Let's check it out. Okay, let's check it out one more time. The Adidas, what we'll do for the Adidas. Now, let's move it, slide it over maybe 4 frames right here to give it a little more time, So you can see that we're going through this cutout of the Adidas logo, which is pretty cool. And the same thing for the Vans. The Vans comes in a little too quick. So maybe at 304, we can slide it over. And then notice that once it slides over, it's cut out. So if that happens to you, that means that you need to go back into your logo animation. And you can see the logo is pretty big. All you need to do is make this comp bigger. Control K, Command K. And what I like to do is go to the width. But before you do, make sure that you have it locked and just type in ×2, click outside, and it just makes your composition bigger. We go back to our logo animation.